I had my first job at the age of 15 on this island, and there was a club here called the Unicorn.
Well, I'm smiling, but I know it's a painful time for you and painful memory, but let's talk about it some. You were married to James Taylor at a time when he was also very successful.
Very.
After years of silence, James Taylor has finally spoken about one of the most difficult periods of his life. The private struggles, emotional pain, and personal battles that fans never knew about are now coming to light. Behind the gentle voice and heartfelt songs was a story of heartbreak, reflection, and healing. Many will be surprised by what he reveals and how he faced it. In this video, we are going to explore James Taylor's candid revelations following his divorce. James Vernon Taylor was born on March 12, 1948, in Boston, Massachusetts, into a family that seemed to combine intelligence and creativity. When they moved to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in 1951, his upbringing took place in a quiet university town. On the surface, it looked ideal for a talented child. Behind closed doors, however, his family life was troubled. His father gradually fell into alcoholism, creating ongoing tension, while his mother focused on her own interests and became distant. James felt the weight of isolation, a feeling that would follow him for years. Music became his refuge. "I didn't know what I was going to do or how to move forward," he later recalled. "I just wanted to play music and travel." Taylor started with the cello, but by 1960 he had switched to the guitar, which would come to define his career. Alongside his brother Alex, he formed the Corsairs, later renamed the Fabulous Corsairs, and even recorded a single in Raleigh. Early on, it was clear that his musical talent was real, yet it couldn't fully shield him from emotional pain. By 1965, at just 17, Taylor fell into a deep depression. The pressures of school at Milton Academy, combined with his father's alcoholism, pushed him to a breaking point. In March of that year, he admitted himself to McLean Psychiatric Hospital in Belmont, Massachusetts. Over 9 months, he was treated with the tranquilizer chlorpromazine and therapy programs, completing high school through a hospital-affiliated school. Years later, he reflected on that time, saying that McLean saved his life, while also acknowledging that mental illness would always be a part of him. His siblings, Kate and Livingston, also received treatment there, showing that his struggles were part of a larger family pattern. After leaving McLean, Taylor tried to start fresh. In 1966, he moved to New York to pursue music seriously. In Greenwich Village, he joined friends to form the Flying Machine, with Danny Korchmar on guitar, Joel O'Brien on drums, and Zachary Wiesner on bass. They performed at local coffee houses like the Night Owl Cafe. Though they attracted attention from young audiences, poor management and a chaotic lifestyle soon derailed the band. A disastrous tour in the Bahamas ended their brief run. During this period, Taylor also fell into drug use. "I really feel that I wasted a lot of time on drugs," he admitted. In his audio memoir Breakshot, 2020, he described living with drummer Joel O'Brien, who was heavily addicted. Taylor said heroin provided a sense of stability in a life full of chaos, but it also dulled the sensitivity essential for his artistry. That marked the beginning of nearly 2 decades of personal struggle. By the late 1960s, Taylor's life balanced on a knife edge, immense musical potential on one side, and the weight of mental illness and addiction on the other. He had found some audience for his songs, yet his career was fragile. Just when it seemed he might be at his lowest point, an opportunity arrived that would change everything. In 1968, through his friend Danny Korchmar, Taylor's demo tape reached Peter Asher, head of A&R at Apple Records, and Paul McCartney's brother-in-law. Asher was impressed by Taylor's warm, intimate voice and personal songwriting. He signed Taylor, making him the first American artist on the Beatles label. His debut album, James Taylor, was recorded in London while the Beatles worked on the White Album. Taylor recalled, "It was all about timing. I was a huge Beatles fan, so it felt like the right moment. But just as success seemed within reach, things fell apart. Internal problems at Apple Records meant the album received little promotion and failed commercially. At the same time, Taylor learned that Suzanne Schneer, a close friend from his New York days, had taken her own life. Friends had hidden the news during the recording process to protect him. 6 months later, when the truth surfaced, Taylor sank into despair. This grief became the foundation of his song Fire and Rain. He explained that the first verse was about Suzanne's death, the second verse reflected his struggle with heroin and search for faith, and the third verse described the collapse of the flying machine, symbolized in the line, "Flying machines in pieces on the ground." In a 1972 Rolling Stone interview, Taylor clarified that this phrase was about his band breaking up, not a plane crash, as some listeners mistakenly thought. Before he could recover, another tragedy struck. In 1969, on Martha's Vineyard, Taylor suffered a serious motorcycle accident, breaking both hands and legs. The injury forced him to stop performing for months. He later said the accident was both devastating and necessary. It robbed him of performing, but gave him the quiet time he needed to focus on songwriting. In early 1970, James Taylor released Sweet Baby James, the album that marked his breakthrough. It quickly climbed to number 3 on the Billboard 200, sold over 3 million copies in the United States, and earned a 3X Platinum certification. From the album, Fire and Rain reached number 3 on the Hot 100 and became the song most closely linked to James Taylor's name. A year later, his cover of You've Got a Friend, written by Carole King, hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earned him the 1972 Grammy Award for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. Critics were equally impressed. Rolling Stone called Sweet Baby James a flawless blend of gentle vocals and delicate guitar work. The album proved Taylor's skill as both a songwriter and performer, establishing him as a leading figure in the emerging wave of singer-songwriters across America. Yet, as his fame grew, it did not bring relief. The glare of stardom drew him deeper into addiction and strained relationships, revealing the high cost of success. In 1971, Taylor released Mudslide Slim and The Blue Horizon, which included You've Got a Friend. The song propelled him to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and won a Grammy, while the album sold over 2 million copies. By then, James Taylor had cemented himself as a major artist in America, basking in the glow of fame and commercial success. At the same time, his private life became a focus of public attention. In 1972, he married Carly Simon, whose voice and style matched his own. Their wedding was celebrated as a perfect union of two musical stars and covered extensively in magazines. They had 2 children, Sarah Sally Taylor in 1974 and Ben Taylor in 1977, both of whom later pursued music. To the public, the Taylor-Simon family seemed a model celebrity household. Behind the public image, however, their marriage was turbulent. Carly Simon later revealed in her memoir, Boys in the Trees, that James Taylor grew increasingly distant due to his addiction. When their marriage ended in 1983, he cut off communication entirely. Simon's account exposed the personal toll of addiction, turning what had once seemed like a golden couple into a painful memory. The root of the trouble was Taylor's long battle with drug addiction. He admitted to living with heroin dependency for nearly 20 years and relied on methadone for extended periods. Relapses were common. It was not until 1983 that he could finally declare himself fully clean. He once said in an interview, "Addiction is the search for stability in a chaotic world, but it is the very thing that kills you." The words reflected the struggle he lived through, a constant longing for peace while trapped in a destructive cycle. During those years, addiction affected both his personal life and his career. Taylor repeatedly canceled concerts, missed major touring opportunities, and released albums that carried the exhaustion of an artist drained by personal struggles. Dad Loves His Work, 1981, for instance, was criticized by Rolling Stone as uninspired and weary. This was also the period when his marriage to Carly Simon officially ended, closing a decade marked by turmoil. Even so, Taylor's talent remained strong enough to sustain his international reputation. The 1970s and early 1980s were a dual-edged period for him. On one hand, he was a leading folk rock artist with millions of albums sold. On the other, he was battling addiction, a broken marriage, and personal instability. Fame had brought wealth and recognition, but it also came with mental strain, lost love, and a fractured family. After achieving sobriety in 1983, Taylor entered a new phase of his life, but he would face more personal challenges. In 1993, tragedy struck when his brother Alex Taylor died from alcoholism at 46. Alex, also a musician, had shared both the stage and formative years with James. Taylor described it as a profound loss and a warning about the dangers of addiction. He acknowledged that his survival had been largely due to luck and close calls, yet he did not allow grief to derail him. He continued writing and performing, using music as a means to restore balance. From the late 1980s through the 1990s, Taylor produced some of his most notable work. In 1988, he released Never Die Young, an introspective album reflecting life lessons and growth. By 1991, New Moonshine followed, blending folk rock with fresh melodies and giving listeners both familiarity and renewal. In 1997, Hourglass became a milestone, charting high on Billboard and earning Taylor the Grammy Award for Best Pop Album, proof that even after years of personal upheaval, he remained connected to his audience. In 2000, Taylor was inducted into both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame, honors that recognized his lasting contributions to American music. This acknowledgement marked a major turning point for an artist who had once struggled with mental illness and addiction. He was now seen as a true icon. Throughout the 2000s, he continued producing music. October Road, 2002, went platinum, confirming that his songwriting retained depth, reflection, and experience. In 2008, he released Covers, a collection of classic songs reinterpreted in his style. Though it sold 500,000 copies and achieved gold status, critics praised it for the sincerity he brought to each track. The pinnacle of his later career came in 2015 when, after 45 years in the industry, Taylor achieved his first #1 album on the Billboard 200 with Before This World. It sold nearly 100,000 copies in its first week, a remarkable feat in a transformed music industry. Rolling Stone described the album as emotionally balanced, and Taylor himself said it reflected the peace he had found through music and family. This success was both commercial and symbolic. By his 60s, Taylor had become the image of a seasoned artist who remained committed. His concerts continued to attract audiences of all ages, from longtime fans to younger listeners discovering his work for the first time. His live performances were intimate, with Taylor seated with his acoustic guitar, sharing his life story through music. Fans attended not just to hear the songs, but to witness a man who had faced darkness and turned it into healing melodies. From 1993 to 2015, Taylor's life reflected rebirth. His brother's death was a deep loss, yet it reinforced his determination to remain steady. As he entered his 70s, he continued performing and creating, writing the final chapters of a musical legacy shaped by resilience and triumph. In 2020, Taylor released American Standard, a covers album of timeless classics from the Great American Songbook. It debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, a notable achievement in an era where traditional standards rarely charted. The following year, the album earned him the Grammy Award for Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album. Critics noted that he revitalized old songs while leaving his personal mark, reflecting nearly 6 decades of artistry. American Standard proved Taylor could still connect with younger listeners unfamiliar with his 1970s work. His approach, simple singing, subtle arrangements, and the life story behind each note, turned each performance into a deeply personal experience. Taylor was not merely performing old songs, he transformed them into reflections of his journey through hardship, recovery, and renewal. In 2024, James Taylor was honored with the Tanglewood Medal, Massachusetts's prestigious award recognizing artists who have made exceptional contributions to both the arts and their communities. The ceremony took place at Tanglewood itself, a place closely tied to James since childhood, where he had performed countless times. On stage, he gave a short, heartfelt speech. "Tanglewood is my home, where I find peace." The quote was widely shared in the press, highlighting the deep connection between James and the land that shaped him both personally and musically. The following summer, in 2025, James Taylor and his all-star band launched a nationwide tour with over 20 shows. The standout moments were 2 special nights back at Tanglewood, where he invited the young trio Tiny Habits to perform as guests. Critics and audiences alike praised the shows. The Berkshire Eagle described the Tanglewood experience as traditional and nostalgic, while fans were amazed by James's energy at 77. On stage, his signature voice remained warm, tender, and full of feeling, leaving audiences moved and inspired. In addition to touring, James began work on a major new project, the musical Fire and Rain. Announced for a 2026 release, the production draws from his own life and his iconic song of the same name. It will be the first time James Taylor's career is adapted for the stage, offering a new way for global audiences to experience his story. Industry experts have noted that the musical is a natural fit, as his life combines significant artistic achievements with personal struggles. Childhood challenges marked by mental illness, years lost to addiction, and a late-life revival. In recent interviews, James has reflected on health, life, and legacy. Speaking to Rolling Stone in 2024, he said, "I was lucky to survive addiction. Now I just want to devote my old age to music." In a 2023 interview with the New York Times, he added, "My legacy is helping people get through loss with a song." Together, these statements reveal his focus at 77. No longer chasing fame or awards, he wants to pass on what he learned through the one medium he fully trusts: music. Today, James Taylor is recognized as one of the most enduring and influential artists of his generation. His music is more than just sound. It is meant to heal, rooted in the pain he once endured. Songs like Fire and Rain and Sweet Baby James are not only celebrated works, but reminders of human resilience. For James, this is how he continues to live, transforming tragedy into songs that connect with and comfort the world. If James Taylor's music has ever moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next stories about the world's music legends.